We're ready. Hi,
we are.
Em.
Totally. Hi, Kate.
How are you?
I'm good, Kate Richburg. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
It's Wednesday. It must be
Facebook Live. Time
right.
to join us in Redwood City around the bead table.
That is right.
For some fun and adventures.
We're ready.
Because there's always adventures when we're talking about beads, right?
It is so true, especially these beads today, which
I know.
is going to be amazing.
They are kind of an adventuresome bead.
They
in a lot
are.
of ways, you know?
And we've got so much to share with you about it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and they're new for us.
Yes, they are.
And they're kind of coming back around as a shape of bead that has a history and a story to it, which is kind of nice. You know, everybody likes the story.
We're going to share that a little bit with you.
Yeah.
But it looks like people are jumping on.
So
excellent. Good. Welcome, everybody. So people went crazy for your wire last week.
So I'm so gratified to see people working with wire and making something every day.
It was a great broadcast.
It was really fun. I did feel a little rushed because I was trying to get out of town to make a plane to meet you in Tucson.
You did, to meet me in Tucson. The
epic journey that took 12 hours to get here to my destination ultimately.
The Phil Collins of the bead world we were last week. It is so true.
But it was well worth it, and you know, it's doing something that I really love and transmitting that information.
It was a great class.
And getting people inspired, and you know, I know that your wire work loops aren't always the first thing. The first ones you make are not always what you feel is the perfect.
Right.
And we get very critical. And, you know, right now, when you're learning and when you're experiencing new stuff, you tend to be a little hyper-focused on what's happening. Mm-hmm. Remember to put something aside and think about it for a little while. Let it marinate and come back to it in a few days.
Yeah.
Or wear it and look at yourself in the mirror and kind of look at it at a normal distance.
Yeah.
And then it begins to look a little more...
a little more at home.
Yeah.
A little more like you're not so critical.
Yeah, you know it.
Less critical eye.
You know, it's like your best friend. You know they've got their problems.
Well, it was a great class, you know, and I know that a lot of you out there know that Emily's been teaching for, how many years have you been teaching for, Emily?
I started teaching...
It's 2018.
I started teaching full-time in the fall of 2001.
So... You have that's subtraction.
17 years.
I've got that. I got it. The other way. That way. 17 years of teaching under your belt. Yeah. And that episode last week was like your master class. Was like the class that you would teach in a similar fashion, right?
Yeah.
That you would teach in wire.
Yeah.
That you've taught really thousands of people.
And you know, when I was teaching full-time, I taught 3 to 5 classes a week. So
I know that full-time teaching.
I figured that I probably saw anywhere from 20 to 40 people a week, and I did that for 14 years.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Under the bridge.
It's a lot of people to touch with wire and seed beads and stringing.
And kimihimo and metal clay
all of
and
that.
all those things. So.
It's true. Well, you know, being back in Tucson when Emily and I were back in Tucson last week, it was crazy how many of you we saw, viewers.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming up to us and saying hi. And I had a few of you in my classes, which was great.
Had them as roommates, which was fun.
We did. Wendy, we're looking at you.
Hi, Wendy.
We're looking at you. No, it was really, really fun. And it really, I think, brought home to roost or nest or whatever that word, roost, whatever it was. But it was really gratifying to see how many people we have taught and mentored over the years. So it was really amazing. Yeah. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Meeting up with the folks at Beadsmith was really exciting.
Yeah, we chatted with our Beadsmith friends. Meredith from Beadalon. Meredith,
so
hopefully
fun.
You're watching now. It was great.
Yep.
So if you haven't watched our broadcast, our epic Tucson day last Thursday, it's all archived right on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
It was really
fun.
fun.
We had a lot of fun.
It was.
We have a lot of fun. My voice is still, as you guys can tell, voice is still
coming and going
rough,
there.
But I can make it through. I'm all good.
Well,
we got this.
And you know, Tucson,
it's so dry. It's so
flippin'
dry.
It's the desert, you know, and so you have to drink a lot of water.
Oh my God!
And you don't even realize till you get home to San Francisco and you're like, oh, I need I don't need to drink water. There's moisture in the air.
There's moisture in the air. Well, oh, my skin's getting back to normal. No, it was great. Well, thank you so much. We had a fantastic time, and we really appreciated taking you all along with us.
It was really fun, actually, to show you kind of the haunts that we've done. Was. You know, we didn't talk about food this time at all. We didn't get to show you our favorite restaurants.
We should next year.
We'll
do a food tour one day.
We'll do a little food tour because
we have eaten our way through Tucson.
Tucson, surprisingly, for a small city, you know,
has a lot of good food.
Kind of a good international food scene, which is kind of fun. And you know, we love it and have a great time visiting with all those folks too, because they recognize us year after year after year.
It's so true.
You know,
Z-Moms on Speedway, we're looking at you.
Yeah, Broadway.
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 All the ways. So let's jump into English cuts, because what we're going to do, you guys, is we're going to break this broadcast up into 4 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take 2, and Emily's going to take 2, and they're going to be 15-minute segments. We've got some stuff that Janice has made that we're going to share with you, and then we've done some of our own riffs with these English cuts, because it's fun
with the English cuts
right now, right here. Okay, so tell us a little bit. So Janice did a little bit of research on the English cut and what that meant. So I'm going to really keep us on schedule. We have 7 minutes
to talk about
discuss these beads and Janice's samples.
Right.
So ready?
Go.
All
right.
Ready, go.
So I'm gonna
English cuts. Why are they called English cuts?
I'm going to get my all out here, and I'm going to put
You're
one
going to give it your
them,
all. Thank you so much.
I'm going to put one of them on the end of my awl so that Brandon can focus on it. I'm going to try not to move my hands, and I'm going to let her come in nice and close. And this is, I can't remember the color name of this one. Hit me.
Avocado.
Avocado gold, in fact.
Yeah, avocado gold. I've got
Sounds
those
like a
right
70s,
a 70s
refrigerator.
That's right.
So English cuts are a check glass bead, and they are faceted. They're faceted without the extra fire polish that we normally see on our fire polish beads. And they have a visible seam that you can see, actually.
Pull it up so that it hits the background of your sweater.
Oh, okay. How's this?
Yeah, that's really nice.
They have a visible seam around the equator.
They do, where they were molded.
Where they were molded. And so what differentiates this from a fire polish is after this is molded, it doesn't go back into the fire. It doesn't get polished again, which makes it real shiny. They stay a little bit coarse. So the shape that you see with these large kind of facets that are a little different from the regular check faceted bead, this is related to Victoria and Albert.
Victoria and Albert, the mourning jewelry of the Victorian age.
So when Victoria and Albert, which were Queen and King of England, or Queen
he
and
was Prince. She was
Albert.
Queen in her own right. Let's get that right.
And then Prince Albert in a can. Prince Albert.
Right. Yeah, aren't you watching Victoria on PBS right now?
No, I'm
not. She's the only one
I
who
love
isn't.
the story.
Yes.
So Albert dies, right?
He does.
They have a bunch of kids, and then he dies.
The 1840s sometime,
right.
I think, if I know my
Victoria
English history.
Goes into mourning.
Deep mourning for the rest of her life.
For her, the rest of her life. She wears black basically for the rest of her life. So one of the things that was very popular at that time, and of course the Queen sets the tone for everything, was mourning jewelry. And so it was made primarily with jet. I mean, jet is a stone. It's fossilized coal, if you want to get kind of technical about it. And it does come with some kind of regular faceting on it. And these beads, this English cut bead, was actually made to imitate that jet. So it is faux jet. And it was very popular for clothing, so it was sewn onto clothing.
Yeah,
embellishing on handbags, hair pieces, hats,
embellishing so much.
All kinds of those things. Now, this English cut, of course, comes around again, and now it's in colors.
Yes, in colored glass.
We really like this shape, and I kind of am appealed to it by the irregularity of it, and also the colorings that we can really have nowadays, and it doesn't have to be mourning jewelry anymore. So there's the story of the English cut. It's a glass bead. This is a 10 millimeter English cut, and I can pull out here for comparison's sake.
And we have them also in the 8. Yeah, here.
Oh, let's have another awl.
Let's get a second. Let me give it my awl.
We can do it. Here. We can have dueling awls.
There you go. You hold that because I'm typing.
So 8 and 10 millimeter.
Right now.
And they have a fairly substantial hole, so they certainly fit on 18 gauge wire.
They fit so
that's
many,
about a
and so many
millimeter. Many
cords, and
of our
it's
sort of the
awesome.
small leathers, 0.5 leathers, I would imagine almost all the Chinese knotting cords. Our Ceylon would certainly fit through this, and bigger
The
beads.
1 millimeter leather will
1 millimeter
fit.
leather, yeah, all those things, right?
So good.
So you can see on this one, on this silver ivory, the mold line, right?
Yeah, you can
And
really see that.
you can really see it pretty clearly. So on a traditional fire polished check glass bead, that would be gone.
That would be right. It would be
off.
polished away.
Yeah.
The thing that I so dig about these, and Brandon, I think we can start to pan out and then pan down to these pieces on the table. They are so vintage.
Yes.
They are so vintage. There's a question Randy asked, are they clean bead holes for thread?
Yes.
So, yes, super clean.
Yes.
Just like all of the other bead holes that you've been expecting
Glass
from
beads.
Czech glass beads.
Yep. Good
Yeah,
times.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go down onto
Yep,
the
let's
table?
go. Yep, so we can start taking a look.
No, Ginger, we did not dress in black for morning jewelry today, but
No,
it's a
we
good
didn't,
call, though.
but
It just
it
happened
is.
this way.
So
Worked out today.
Look right at those English cuts and get everybody a good look at them.
So let's take a look at what Janice has created for these wonderful projects. I'm just hitting publish here on the blog. We've made a list on the bead table blog of everything that Emily and I are using in this, and then we'll go ahead and do some links and stuff after the fact. But you can see, let me view the blog here, and I'm going to drop that link right into the comments
Cool.
here. But Emily, why don't you point out some of those English cuts that we've got going on right now?
So, I think it'd be great to start kind of with the pieces that Janice whipped up for us. And, she did a nice, wonderful little stringing sample here using a couple of colors, one color, sorry, and some 10 millimeter stone, a little daisy spacer, and some, I think those are the hematite shadows. Can't quite see.
Oh, here.
Is it on,
I've
is
got
it on the list?
Yep,
Oh, good.
I did the list for you
Okay.
right there.
All right.
So I think what Janice has there is the two cuts. Oh, sorry, I thought I had it on
Nope.
that. But this was those two cut beads.
True
that,
cuts?
the two cuts.
Oh,
the cut cubes.
Right.
In
The hematite.
But we can also substitute, because we were a little low actually on these. We can
Small
also
shadows.
substitute, my favorites, little shadows.
Right.
So any of those will work with this. And I think that these three samples that Janice did kind of illustrate how versatile this bead is, right?
Right. So this is the 8 millimeter in a quick laddering bracelet with some 0.5 millimeter leather, and the 10 millimeter of the same color makes a great clasp. That just couldn't be any easier. I know we've been talking a lot about laddering in the last, in the last few weeks, but laddering never really gets old. There's so many different beads you can try it with that it's amazing. So this is the 5 millimeter champagne rondelle, and done with Ceylon, turquoise Ceylon, and turquoise, light metallic turquoise leather.
Yeah,
Right.
and that 1 millimeter.
Right.
And that 1 millimeter, I like that Janice chose that smaller one because you can see on the button here. See how she did that button?
Yeah, I know. It
Where
goes
she
right
started
through.
here and then she just nodded. So
it's
that
a great idea for that
that
English
1
cut.
millimeter was a good choice because you can see that 1 millimeter leather just fits right through that
And look
bead.
how rustic this bead is. It
Yeah.
could be. It looks like it
So
could be a
good.
turquoise.
Little nug that we
nugget
pulled out
there.
of the ground in
Yeah.
Tuson. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. It's cool. And then she made a couple of others with the CKC, or Chinese knotting cord, CKC as we like to call it. Just a simple
For a nice illusion float.
Yeah, and this you can make super long or super short, however you want to do it. I've got a little bit of a riff on this one that I'm going to share with you. But they're super, really, really versatile.
Right.
And Emily, you have a great piece that you're going to start off with. And so you guys, to keep us on track, I am setting my timer on my phone. And Emily, I am starting the timer.
Which one do you want me to start with?
You're going to start with that one.
Necklace?
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay.
Because that one's a little more intricate.
Yep.
So I'm going to move all these English cuts. We're going to get Emily in. And you know what I'm doing?
Right.
I am setting my timer as soon as you
no
go.
pressure.
No pressure at all. I just thought, I don't know. I'm feeling bossy today, so I'm just going to set my timer because it's fun.
Bossy. No surprise.
No surprise. No surprise. So here I'm going. I'm hitting start.
Okay.
Bam.
Good. Got
T
it.
minus
Done.
15. So, Emily,
So,
what are we calling this? You called this something.
You know, I didn't really have a name for it yet, except
Well,
for
we called it on the blog.
it's
We
a
called
Y
it-
necklace or rosary necklace.
Emily's rosary necklace is what we called it.
So, you know, rosary necklace is one that typically kind of comes together at a point in the center front, and it has some bit of a dangle that comes down from it. So it has the feel of a traditional rosary, but it's a little different. It's not meant for religious purposes. I chose the silver ivory, both in the 8 and the 10 millimeter. And, you know, there are a little slight difference in color between the two, which I kind of like. And I pulled up some antique copper wire, some daisies, some...
I just love this.
Some
Hishi, tiara Hishi,
yeah.
right?
I've got some 8 millimeter copper jump rings. I've got this circle of bronze.
Circle of bronze.
Which I think is so pretty.
So super
right?
pretty.
And I went to the wall where we have all of the tribal and trade pieces, and I really just went box by box until I found something that I just adored. This is one of our pieces from that tribal and trade section, and it's called... Oh, wrong page. Sorry,
Wrong page.
Blooming Jade.
Blooming Jade.
Blooming
Yep.
Jade. And you know, it comes in a bunch of different colors. There's a blooming jade with a dyed turquoise, and they're lovely variations on a theme. And I really
so
think any of these ones that you got would really work with the ivory, silver ivory cuts.
And that silver ivory, again, so vintage.
So I mixed my metals too.
So vintage.
Right?
Again,
Silver, ivory,
so vintage.
copper, bronze. Oh, I almost forgot this is the old Cameroon. Threw those guys in. And since we did that little bauble chain and I had a little bit of it kind of floating around, here's my little vintage bauble chain dangle right at the bottom.
Looks so good.
So wire wrapped, simply wire wrapped, and I haven't even attached it to a piece of chain yet. But I do have some circle back chain. Is that what that one's called? I think so.
Yeah, circle back. That's
Circle
what that
back
is.
chain. And I really think that's the one that I want to use to go around the rest of the back of my neck for this one.
It's a nice choice because it's simple. You could also embellish more things
Absolutely.
onto that chain.
And you know, we had a viewer on the Facebook that did a really great asymmetrical piece.
Oh,
and
with
that,
the bib.
Yeah.
So good.
That was also
bib.
kind of on my mind today.
Yeah.
The Blooming Jade also has lots of holes. We could actually hang stuff from each one of these holes and have multiple dangles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And of course, I didn't forget to put a shadow in there. There's just absolutely one shadow right there.
You know what we can't.
Right?
We
Can't really
forget.
live without is a shadow.
That's what I'm saying.
So, construction of this was pretty simple. I wire wrapped 5 pieces, so 5 links, alternating small and large, of the English cuts. And then I used jump rings to attach them to the circle of bronze. I made this component separately.
And which jump rings did you use?
I used the 8 millimeter.
The 8 millimeter.
Yeah,
And-
so those are the big copper ones.
And it gives you movement.
Absolutely.
There. That's why you chose
Yep,
those, right?
I
Because
did.
they're a little bigger.
And, you know, in a rosary, like a praying rosary, this is where those 3 pieces kind of come together.
Right.
So it's nice to have something, and that circle bronze kind of gives me a nice beefy piece.
Right, a nice weight.
Nice to have something
visual weight.
that kind of brings everything together and is sturdy. I wire wrapped a link here to the Blooming Jade and another one down below, which I'm happy to show you how to do. It's actually pretty easy,
Yeah.
you know?
What are you going to show how to do that too?
So
That'll
this
be-
one I
that'll be
did
good.
last week, and I'll show you in a minute. I'll finish it off and do that part with you. But I do want to show you this little link.
That link is
Super easy.
so good.
So I've got some 22 gauge antique copper wire, and I'm just
mat or something just to break up that line.
sure we'll do. I'm going to cut off about a foot or so, and this is just kind of an arbitrary amount that I chose of wire, and really all I'm doing is getting a piece to work with, if that makes sense. And any long piece that you choose to work with is fine. If you want to save the most on your wire as far as price and value, cut it as few times as possible. That's always my recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. So to create this little link at the top and this little link at the bottom, I'm going to take the blooming jade, and it actually has holes all around the outside edge. But if you'll notice, if I hold it this way at 12 and 6, there's actually a hole at the top and bottom, a smaller one, and that's the ones I'm going to use.
And you mentioned what gauge you were using.
22.
22.
Gauge.
Okay.
Yep.
I like 22.
I like 22 too. So all I did was feed a piece of wire right through, and I'm going to actually bring it around and feed it through again. And what I was going for here is I wanted to use this thinner gauge of wire, but I wanted to have a little bit more metal showing. So we talked about this last week a little bit in the sense of using bead caps and things like that. So I'm just going to bring it together. See how I have a loop sewn all the way through that hole? And I have 2 wires now, a long and a short. Simply going to wrap the short around the long. Now, I'm actually kind of a fan of messy wrapping occasionally. So if you want, this place is a spot where you can actually have be a little bit less careful. And I did just a few wraps there with my hands. And then I'm going to cut the extra off. This is a plated wire, so it's fairly soft, easy to work with. And tuck down the little end. Now, I liked those old Cameroons because they gave me a little bit of texture and a little bit of, that's not your bead, that's my bead.
No, that's my bead too.
No, that's not your bead.
Well, then
go along.
Where's my bead?
I don't know.
Maybe this is
a little bit of texture, and it kind of went over the wrap.
Give me my bead.
Don't you love to hear us arguing like...
Give me my bead.
It's important.
Give me my wire
What?
cutter.
You can't have those wire cutters. I'm busy. I need it. It's my 15 minutes.
Oh, all right.
And to transition from
Here's your wire cutter.
Cameroon, I threw in this is a regular size shadow. It's the copper plate, vintage copper plate. And I'm going to go ahead and plan my next loop. Now, one thing you might think about is where those loops are going to go. And in this case, I'm going to do a jump ring to my centerpiece. So I really need my loop to be at opposite direction from my first one. I'm going to have it go across. Okay.
And the key here, I think, Emily, as you've mentioned before, it's all about movement. Right? I mean, I
want to have this be wiggly in every direction. Right? So I'm going to make the bend in my wire. Change back to my round nose pliers. Take the wire up and over the plier and around. And loosen my grip and turn it. Bring that wire back around underneath. Remember the man with the scarf? There he is.
There he is. There's the man with the scarf.
I'm going to hang on to that loop with my chain nose pliers. And I realized after last week's episode that I forgot to say why I don't use round nose pliers to hold my loop.
I know why.
Well, hold your horses there, Richburg. Jeez Louise, I hope you know why after all these years.
Right.
Right?
I just wanted to be a smarty pants.
I know you did. I know you did. So there's the top part of my link, right? If I'm recreating that. Let me just grab a short piece of a little bit heavier wire.
Do you need something from me over
Nope.
here? Okay.
I'm good. I'm going to stop right now and show you why not to grip your wire with your round nose pliers. So, Brandon, are you here? Are you with me?
I'm going to zoom in tight so
Good.
don't move too far.
I'm going to stop for just a minute and let Brandon catch up. This is my round nose plier. This is my round wire, which is lovely and smooth right at the moment. But if I take my round nose pliers and come in here and give it a little pinch, a little squeeze, I've made a dent in my wire. And I think you might actually be able to see it pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you're trying to really compress with that
head
of that plier,
I'm really not trying to.
Right.
So when you make a little dent like that in your wire, what you're doing is hardening it, weakening it, and making it somewhat unsightly. So avoid gripping your round wire with your round nose pliers. I could do the same grip with my chain nose, and have no effect.
Right, because it's a flat plier.
Because it's flat on the inside. Okay? All right. I just wanted to make sure that was thoroughly understood.
The way that I remember that, is I think about round nose pliers are for round loops.
Right?
Right? Round equals round.
That's true.
In my book.
Yep. So, bottom part of that loop, same situation. Bring it all the way around and go through that hole again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that looks so nice.
And I just pull it up.
And that 22 is malleable enough to move it around.
Oh, yeah.
But stiff enough to kind of have it hold its shape, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes it looks a little thin, a little skimpy next to those bigger beads. So having a little bit of more metal, so a spacer or something like that, to kind of give it a little bit of a transition, I think always looks really good.
Yeah,
right?
I do too.
So this is the bottom half. I'm working this time away from my pendant. And I'm going to grab a few spacers. So I pulled out just some simple spacers here. You could use whatever you like. And throw a bead on there. And a couple more spacers. You know, if you had something else, you could put that in there too. Okay. So there's where I'd make my next wrapped loop and add my little dangles. Okay, whatever little dangles you desire. If you've still got some from your samples, perfect. Okay. So the other part of this that I would really love to show you is actually going ahead and attaching my clasp. So this centerpiece or center portion of my necklace is some length. And if I grab my measuring tape and measure it and know how long it is, then I can compare it to how long I might want to make my necklace. So I actually assembled this without adding the chain. So that gives me the chance to make up my mind about how I want that length to be. So we're looking at about 7 inches, maybe a little bit extra.
Do you want the measuring tape?
I already have it.
You have it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
And I'm going to figure on making my chain maybe a foot long or so here. You know, one of the other things you can do with chain is, just like wire, chain is kind of got some price to it. So cut it as little as possible, as least often as you can. And I'm just going to measure out a 1 foot piece using my measuring tape. Watching the clock because Kate's going to get me.
I am.
Right? So that 1
So
foot
true.
long piece is what I'm going to use for the rest of this necklace.
I'm gonna grab that.
What?
Sorry.
Okay. And I will add a clasp in here as well. And I picked just a real simple copper swivel clasp. So I figured that was kind of a good one behind my neck, and it also makes it slightly adjustable. So I made my links to the crossing over stage, or the man with the scarf stage, if you like, the last 2 links. And I'm just going to go ahead and attach each one by running the chain down into the loop, pulling it through that connection, and wrapping it closed. And you know what I'm going to need after I wrap it closed, right, Kate?
A drink.
My flush cutter's
Oh,
back.
okay, sorry.
She took them out from under me while I was
did.
working. How distracting is that, you guys?
Well, sorry.
Oh my God, she's not really sorry, I can tell. I can tell. You know? She's not really all that sorry.
I'm not sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
And here's my other piece. And I'm not worrying about twisting this chain or anything at this moment because there's another little bit of a trick at the end here.
Yes,
Okay.
I like those tricks.
Grab a hold of that loop. And I'm just holding on to the last link in the chain as well, so it doesn't get away from me. I've got a good grip. Okay? And trimming off the last little bit. Eyeing the clock, which says I have 55 seconds left to finish this thing.
It's kind of
No
nerve-wracking.
pressure, huh?
It's a little nerve-wracking, isn't it?
So here's my finished length. And
keep us on task.
once I've got it all the way done, all I'm going to do is trim off the last link in the middle and attach my clasp. Okay? If I have two and I have to choose one, I'm going to have to pick one. One of you is Mom's favorite and one of you is not. So that's how that works out. Rough, huh? So I'm going to take a 5mm and maybe a 6mm jump ring. One end will be attaching my clasp to my necklace, and one end will be attaching for my clasp to bite into. And look at that. You can have a couple more. Can I have a couple more seconds? Can I use your chain nose pliers real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Put this on here. Thank you. You're making me crazy, Richburg.
Why?
Because you're timing me.
I know, it's good though. It's keeping us on track. I think it's funny.
It's making me a little sick.
Oh,
So
sorry.
You're not worried about that, though.
I'm not.
Tell.
Yeah.
Heck with all that.
Right? Someone's got to drive this bus over the cliff. Come on.
All right. Put that clasp on, closing the jump ring carefully. Well, at least you're not making me do my 2 segments back to back.
No. Plus, your earring segment will be shorter.
Yeah.
You'll pick up some time.
Attach my clasp to that last link, and voila.
It really, isn't that just so good?
Split up to the edge of the mat is
so good.
Perfect. Thank you.
And you could put like multiple strands of chain here.
Absolutely.
This has so much potential.
These could be,
to just go in any direction.
You know, I could have pulled the same turquoise one that Janice worked with, the turquoise 10mm. That would have been real pretty, and we could have subbed in this, but kept the white, silver white, or white silver ivory in there. That would have looked really good
beautiful.
too, right?
Nice.
Oh,
right?
it looks so good.
Yeah. So it's a quick to make.
Yeah.
Quick little guy to make.
It's a great and it's a fun, literally fun project. Oh,
and
it
fast.
Looks so good.
Right.
And fast. So good. Well, people are people are freaked out about the timer. Just relax. It's keeping us on track. Come on now. I'm going to set the timer for me, and all y'all out there, you just take a deep breath. It's keeping us on track. You know, plus we have to have some boundaries to work in sometimes.
Humbug.
Right?
So are we moving the camera over
let's take a look
Kate's side?
of what I've got here. So I've got this piece here that I called, what did I call this? My tribal English cuts piece, right? And Emily and I, when we were in Tucson, we saw a lot of ombre, right, Em?
Yeah. You know, one of the most common ways that we see a lot of the very small fine gemstone beads is that they come in a blend of colors, a blend of shades, and they go from light to dark, or they travel from one color to another within one type of stone. And the ombre is so pretty.
And it's almost, for me, it's kind of like a no-brainer.
Yes.
If I don't know what to do,
Yeah.
I'm going to do a color blend.
Yeah.
You know, because it's kind of it always looks good,
Yeah.
I think. So that's what I did with this here. And what I used the pink fuchsia, I used the silver mercury, and I used the red Picasso English cuts, all in 10mm.
Those red Picasso are so juicy.
Dreamy. I mean, if this doesn't scream vintage bead, then I don't know what it's screaming.
Yeah.
It's screaming, put me down and make a necklace out of it.
That's right.
But I think, and you could do the same design with the 8 mils if you wanted. I'm going to pull that one. I loved this that you used. This
I went right to it. I didn't even hesitate.
It makes me want to just cry. I love it so much. So again, you could ombre it. I don't know. You could ombre it a little bit differently with, I don't know, maybe
what's this?
Well, I got
gorgeous.
it from the I got it from the pile of all of our stuff here.
I haven't had a chance to even look at it.
That's the old stone mix.
Stone mix. It's really nice.
Oh, so pretty.
Oh no, that's metallic mix.
So I chose, when I was thinking about this project, I chose 3. I just covered my phone. I just covered the timer with all the beads, you guys, so you'll be stoked about that, how I can't see it. But I pulled 3 strands, 3 colorways.
Right.
And so I did the my ombre with these 3, this, and this. Then I wanted something that would be a great background to it. So I used the tribal hishi. This isn't the tiara hishi. This is actually a tribal hishi. It's a little different. It's a little, well, I've got one right here. It's a little It's just a little different. It's maybe a little thicker.
It's a little thicker, and
the hole might be just a tad larger. This is if Little Shadows has a rival, it's this tiara. It's this tribal hishi. I love it so much. Some of the first beads I ever used in my designs. So I thought that this would make a really great background for it. And then I thought, taking a leaf out from Janice's book, and something that I like to do too, is I like to mix my metals, and I find that gives things kind of a tribal look. Emily and I were at the African Village show in Tuson.
One of my favorite shows.
It's one of our favorite shows. Yep. And just the riot of color and the mixed metals, and that was really super, super inspiring.
The riot of languages. Yeah. People forget how international Tucson, the gem shows are.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
Quite truthfully, you can stand and have within a 10-foot radius people from 7 or 8 different countries.
Yeah.
Speaking 7 or 8 different languages.
Right.
Looking for 7 or 8 different things, or selling 7 or 8 different things.
It's so good.
And it's really, it's all brought together with beads and gems.
With beads, that's right. They're all there for one purpose. So I used these Happy Donuts in gold. I wanted to give it a little pop of shine. So I used one package, and I kind of sprinkled them throughout what was going on. So you can see here, if I lay this out kind of long, you can see I strung actually this one first, the heavier strand. And then my second strand, I just kind of laid the beads in and just kind of saw how they laid next to one another.
This is also quite amazing, Kate.
Thanks. It's a pretty good piece, huh?
We work well sitting beside each other.
We do. We just made, you guys, we literally made these this morning before the broadcast, which is why we're all amped up, because stringing beads makes us super excited. At least makes me super excited.
I'd rather do that than anything else all day long.
I know, me too, all day long. So I thought I would show how I would close this off, right? Live. So I have a smattering of Little Shadows, also in the bright gold. And, and I've got this Sanctuary, this shell bead that we've got, because I wanted this piece to have a little say something at the end, especially looking at all of that tribal jewelry that we were taking a look at in Tucson. Not only is it beautiful from the front of the necklace, but it's also really beautiful from the back of the necklace. So I think it's really important to kind of give the piece its due. Right?
Are you using the Softflex .014?
I am. I'm using the Softflex .014, and I chose the bronze because I liked that color. Good. But I also, you guys can use, obviously, whatever color you guys dig. What I'm going to do, because I really am just sizing this on the fly, and this is how I do it, I'm going to push it all together here, right? And you can see I use that Sanctuary there. And do you have this mix, will you put a few more of those little shadows and those
little gold beads?
Yeah, the 24 karat gold plated. That's what we had a smattering of. You can use at the ends, you guys, any of the beads that you have, right? You don't have to use exactly what I'm using. These little 24 karat A-dots that I'm using are a little spendy, but they're such a good bead, and we had them, so I'm using them. I popped them on. But you could use little shadows for all of this. But again, I wanted some contrast of shape and size. Okay, so that's what I was doing. So let's see. I've got 4. Let's make sure that my count is right. Oh, I only have 8 minutes. Now I'm feeling the pressure. What was I thinking about this timer? It's like the Olympics of beading, right?
Oh, the Olympics are coming. One of my favorite things.
They are, I know, on Friday. I can't wait.
I love how we all become experts for 2 weeks.
I know.
In triple loop.
I know, and I think, why wasn't I into the luge?
The luge. I was just thinking the luge.
Right? See? No surprise there.
Right?
So now, you guys, I'm really playing with fire here, leaving these ends open. So I am going to tape these up.
Ginger's thinking about weight on these guys.
They're not that weighty. I mean, they're heavy.
They do have their glass, Ginger.
They're not crazy.
So they do have some weight, but I don't consider them of that sort a very heavy bead. A stone bead of the same size would be a bit heavier.
Yeah.
These necklaces Kate's putting together with all that hishi in it, they definitely have some weight to them.
Yeah, and they have some since they're interspersed with the tribal.
Right.
It makes them a lot less heavy.
Yeah, and this has got, again, really nice movement.
Yeah. Thanks. So I also wanted, again, a little say something at the end. So I'm using our willow charm. And I used the willow in the bright gold.
Oh, you're going to put that in the back?
I did.
Oh,
and I
like
put
the little counterbalance back there.
I put two. I put a... What did I use? I used a 5mm gold jump ring just to place it on the leaf so it hangs nicely as a charm. And then I'm going to put another one of those little gold balls. And then I'm using the tassel. And the tassel is, I have it here.
Blush and gold.
The blush tassel with the gold cap. And so I think it adds just a little bit of whimsy at the back, which I like. I like
whimsy?
I like a little whimsy. Terribly whimsical. Now, wait a minute. Did you see what Kim Crawford just put down? No, she's not. That's so awesome. So, Kim Crawford, your husband is a 2-time Olympian in Nordic combined. That, you know what? That is one of my favorites when I'm watching the jumps and I get so super excited. Oh, my goodness gracious. That is the best news I've heard all day.
What's the one where they have to ski and then they have to shoot?
Oh, that one where they ski and shoot and run and...
No, they just ski and then they have to stop and
I can't remember.
Control themselves and shoot. I love that one.
Awesome. Oh, well, that's so great. 80 and 88. That's... You know what? We learned so much about each other on these broadcasts. That's the best. I love it. So now... I'm going to bring this all to a close because I have just about 5 minutes to close this off. So I want to show you guys what my thinking is. And then while Emily's doing her next demo, I'll go ahead and close it because I'm just going to crimp. But you guys can see I've made this outer one even, and then this one I'm going to taper. I'm just going to tape this down because you know...
Where the beads are going to live on the floor.
That's right, where they're going to live. So I'm going to take this off, and I don't know, I think I'm going to taper with just 2 of the little golds, right? Or maybe 1 little shadow and 1 gold, right?
That's nice.
So it's nice.
And what kind of clasp are you using for this
nice. I am going to use the plain and simple toggle. And notice how I used the gold toggle on that too. And you can see, since this gold... I could have used some of this brass maybe up in here, but I don't know. I kind of like the little flash. It's like a little sunrise at the end, so I'm really okay with that. Then I'm going to do my little shadow and my gold. Whoops, that's the wrong bead. And my little round. So I know that you guys are probably asking about measurements or wondering about measurements. When I measured this for me, I took the spool of Softlex, wrapped it around my neck, and added about 4 extra inches. But let me give you a real measurement for this double strand. And again, it just shows that there's no hard and fast rule. It's probably about 22, maybe this is about 20 inches and 22 inches is what I'm looking at. And the way that this is going to taper is I made one that sits kind of inside the other, so so it lays nicely, so it doesn't kind of lie flat one on top of the other. And then it's just time to, you know what, actually, you had asked me which closures I wanted. I think I actually wanted the gold, but you know, I might actually not use crimp covers on this.
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe I should and do them individually.
It's up to you.
Do you want to grab the gold ones real quick?
Sure, will do.
And I'll start putting these on. So the way I'm going to crimp this, you guys, is I'm going to crimp this in 2 separate strands. You can see that the loop on this clasp is pretty big, so I'll be able to get 2 strands through here, and I think they'll also be fine with my wire guards as well, but I'll experiment with that and see what it looks like. I could also, I've got these jump rings, so I could just crimp it closed, put them through the jump ring, and put that jump ring actually connected to that clasp. And that actually might give everything a little bit more movement, so that actually might be a more prudent, I'm sorry, the wire guards too. I'm sorry, Em. Sorry, so sorry, Emily Miller. That's what happens when we invent right before we go on the air, right? All right, let's take a look here. So maybe I will. Would you put a jump ring on that end?
No.
For a little more movement?
I probably would not. But I also might drive both those strands through one
Through
crimp.
one? Yeah, but I'm going to use 2. If I use 2 wire guards, I can't get both of them through.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I could get 2 wire guards, and I may be able to. Let me just check it. Can I get 2 wire guards? I can. It looks a little...
Chunky.
Looks a little crowded.
Okay.
So I am going to...
Do a jump ring
Do
instead?
a jump ring, yeah,
Okay.
to make that a little less crowded. So while I do that, Emily Miller...
Okay. I think you're going to have to get up and get some because I don't think we have any gold ones here.
What's that?
Jump rings.
Oh no, I have them from
you do?
I'm
Oh.
going to use the same ones that I used
Oh, good.
for those guys.
Sweet.
So may I have the chain nose that you've got
You
over
may.
there? Looks like I've got a minute left, so you're ready for your next
I
extravaganza.
am pretty much ready.
Yes.
Because this one's not going to take 15
No,
minutes
so
probably.
why don't you do that and then I'll
Okay.
finish this closure.
You know, we were talking last
Thank you.
time regarding some head pins and eye pins while we were making wire wrap loops. And the suggestion was thrown out there about paddle head pins and what it
Yes.
takes to do those.
And we love, I love it.
So I actually made a couple of component pieces here
These are so, and they
with
look
the
so
paddle head pins.
good with those rustic.
I'm gonna move over towards you.
All right,
Okay.
just a bit.
I'm actually just moving the camera this
Okay,
time to kind
perfect.
of really get in on each of you.
Right. And so Kate said, let's do these. Let's do paddle head pins again today.
Let's do
them.
Let's do it, Emily.
And so I'm totally down with that. Paddle head pins are...
Sorry, that's the timer.
Okay, start me up.
I'm gonna start you up right now. There
Except
we
I gave you my... Oh, no, I didn't.
go. Do you need this?
I don't.
Okay.
So I
I
have
like
some...
this timer.
I have
I'm
some...
the only one.
You're the only one. Some 18 gauge wire here. I'm going to cut a piece from my spool about 6 inches long or so, maybe a little longer.
And may I ask, you chose 18 gauge because that's what the heaviest that went through that bead hole?
You know, it is the heaviest that goes through that. I really thought the 18 gauge with having the stem visible and out, not covered by beads, that was a more durable than the 20 gauge.
And especially it had some visual weight to it.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my nylon jawed wire straightening plier and I'm going to vigorously,
With meaning.
with purpose,
Once again, with meaning.
give some straightening to this wire. So when I'm straightening, I'm work hardening. We talked about that briefly last week. So that makes the wire less bendable, and because I'm going to have it on the outside with no beads covering it, I want to make sure that it's as durable as possible. Now, each end of this piece of wire that I've made, I'm going to make into a paddle head pin. And one of the things that I want to make sure to do is make sure that I have both ends have flush cuts on them, because I want to make 2 head pins that are similar.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the flush cutter, the flat or back side or underside of the cutter is going to go towards my wire, and I'm going to cut that off. I just cut off a little nubbin, not very much,
a little tiny nub.
a little nub. And you know what I like to do to make head pins? I'm actually going to bend the wire in the middle.
That was... So I saw that bent wire you had over
Right.
there. That is the smartest
Right.
thing I've seen all day.
Because I want to hammer on both of these
So
ends so they
clever.
come up so similar as possible.
So
I
smart,
can actually
Emily.
do a little hammering on my bench block with my chasing hammer.
So good. As you're hammering, I'm going to reach to this.
And while you hammer, you want to actually let some of the energy go off to the side. So I'm actually kind of giving it a little bit of a side push. And that will help draw that wire out and keep spreading it out. Right?
No, I just,
So I
in
can,
all my wire years,
make them match.
In all my wire years,
On all my born days. To make them match, I have them close together so I know if one needs another little hammer. And I can also flip them over at the same time and do that little bit of hammering on both sides.
I really am blown away by that.
What?
I really am.
You are not. Shut it, Richburg.
I am. I'm telling you, that's
You're so full of it. Right?
No, it's not the cold medicine. It's your hammering. Serious. Cereal.
So I've got 2 head pins now. Okay? I'm going to cut them apart.
Cut them apart. Getting our one. We have one flush cutter between the two of us.
Right? Like that. And that. Now I have 2 head pins. So this little bit of wire that I had here, it could actually be made into another head pin. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Like for a pendant.
Right. So all I need to do is put my English cut beads on, and they slide down in the paddle. See, it looks like a paddle, a canoe paddle. Keeps the beads from going down to the bottom. So if you like, when you're hammering, you can choose how far up the wire you want that paddle to go. If you want a very small, short paddle, I'm going to go cut it flush because I'll hate myself if I don't.
That's right. Cut it, Miller.
We can do most of our hammering right on the very, very end. So not going very far up the wire.
And we're tapping with jewelry making taps. We're not building a house or hitting roofing nails, right, you guys? So light taps.
My bead comes further down the paddle. But if I'm making a pair of earrings, I tend to do things so that they come out as close to possible to the same, right? Because really, earrings that don't match are 2 pendants that you made earrings out of.
Right. I mean, unless you are making them mindfully different.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to make a simple loop here at the end. And another thing that got brought up last week we didn't cover, when you're making simple loops on your unwrapped loops or simple loops on your round nose pliers, feel free to put a Sharpie mark on here somewhere.
Yeah, it really helps
to help you
to eyeball
get
it.
that eyeball. Now, this is another place where I like to break the rules.
Breaking the law.
Normally, when I make a simple loop, I start with a right angle bend in my wire. And in this case, I'm actually going to do the P-style loop. So this is another way of making a simple loop. Grab a hold of the end of the wire in my plier, roll it forward, all the way around so the wire touches itself. And it might take a couple of mindful small moves until I get something that looks like a letter P or Q, depending on what side you're on. So I'm going to put my round nose plier back in, and I'm going to orient the outer jaw of the plier a little lower on the diagonal than the upper one. And I'm going to pull my wire back against that jaw of the plier. And this gives me a loop that with a tiny little bit of adjusting.
And that's 18 gauge, just to clarify.
That's 18 gauge, yep.
And then...
Pretty nice looking little loop. To close it completely, because it's either open or not, if I swing this guy open, push it closed to itself a little bit more, then I have one of an earring. Right? It's kind of a mod earring. I like it.
Looks good.
I'll do that one again. So grab the end of the wire in the round nose plier, roll it over, kind of away from yourself. Keep going on that rolling, gently gripping until the wire touches itself on the stem. I like to reorient my plier so the interior plier is a little bit higher. You see how these kind of slope on the diagonal? And then bring that wire back against the jaw of the plier. I may have to go back in here and do a little bit of scooching. And there's my 2 pendant earrings, ready to get put on a ear wire or hang as a pendant on a chain. Might be kind of fun, right? Be a great way to showcase a very special bead or a one-off kind of bead. But those make a really fun earring.
They're so good. And then as an ear wire, you could use any ear wire that you want to put on
like. Sure.
Yeah.
If you like a lever back because it's more comfortable, a little bit more secure, less chance of being lost. You could certainly do that. But yeah, any ear wire that you like, even a mixed metal one. These would be pretty with a sterling ear wire. because it would give it a little bit of oomph, and it would pick up those silver on the outside
And
of
you
the
can
beads.
even wrap the ones that I'm wearing, or you can see the ones that I even put on. That's from an earring, the earring show we did a while back.
Yeah.
How those were mixed metals. And I liked how you made a long petal here and a short petal on those other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do either style, right? Starting with that flush cut end, though, makes the ends of the paddles look more similar to one another. And if we just do more work on the end, we'll get a more of a short paddle rather than working our way up that shaft of wire. Did I make it in under 15 minutes?
Yeah, you still have time.
I'm having all kinds of panic.
No, will you stop it with the panic?
So bench blocks are steel blocks made for hammering against. They're very smooth and sharp. One thing that's good to note and notice about them is that when you're hammering, if you hammer over the edge this way, you'll get a crease in your wire. So I don't know if you notice, it's kind of a subtle thing. When I hammer, I lift up the wire. So the only part of the wire that's on the block is the part I'm actually hammering against. And I like to hammer with my forefinger down on the end of the hammer. This actually kind of reminds me that I'm gripping at the pistol grip part of the bulb here at the end, and that I've got pretty good control. This is actually pointing right at what I want to do. And if you want to add texture, you roll that hammer over, and you can start dimpling and hammering some texture into that metal with the ball peen end.
I just love that dimpled.
Oh, who doesn't look something that looks like it's handmade?
Right.
Right.
And I think, just being able to use that simple bench block and hammer, it kind of transforms your metalwork a little bit.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. So a bench block and a chasing hammer is kind of Tools 101.
Yeah, it's a great starting point.
Right, absolutely. You will find bench blocks that come into use not just for hammering, but for setting something on so that it doesn't roll away or doesn't get away from you. It's nice and flat and true. Putting something underneath your bench block too will help with the sound.
Yeah,
I just happen to have my bead mat, but even just a thick piece of paper, cardstock,
or leather.
If you have the cardboard from the back of a pad of paper.
Yeah, that
kind of works really nicely to help kind of quiet down the noise. It also lets your family members know where you are because you're tapping away back there.
That's right.
And they're listening for you, but they all know where you've gone to, right?
Okay, I'm almost done.
Are you ready?
Should we show? I've got 5 minutes.
Oh, awesome.
You've got 5 minutes, so let me take that 5 minutes.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can have whatever you want, Karen. Karen's asking about something. And the answer is yes, you can have it. So, Bran, let's move this over here, and I'll show you this last closure for this guy. And then I'll move on to my next trick. Right? So, I've put all of the crimps closed up and crimped all of the strands of this necklace except for this final one. You can see I've got the crimps over here on this side and I've got them crimped to a jump ring. And I'm going to go ahead and close this side up. Nothing fancy, nothing different than from where I've crimped these things 1,000 times before. But this just goes through. It's a little hard for you guys to see. I'm gonna arrange it first, and then I'll show you what I'm doing to make sure you can see. Get a nice clear view of what's happening here. So I've got that crimp cover, or the wire guard on. These persnickety little things. I've got that wire guard on that I've come through with. I've got my crimp tube here. And I've got all the slack right here underneath my loop. Now I'm going to go ahead and close all this up. There we go. So that when I pull this tight, just like this, I don't pull it too tight. Now, with the hishi that I'm using, since it's kind of squared off a little bit, it can get too tight really quickly.
When you say squared off, what you're talking about is that these are kind of flat. And when they sit next to each other, they don't have any wiggle room.
There's no joint. They're not like round beads, right, that kind of brush up nicely against each other. So you really have to have that little bit of extra room, or else these hishi aren't going to want to play nicely in your necklace. So I'm going to come in and I crimp, and I have detailed crimping, you guys, ad nauseum on different Facebook Lives. We have a lot of really great skill builders. We have a good skill builder on it. We've done some other Facebook Lives on it, so I'm flying through it a little bit faster than I normally would today, but I did want you to see how this actually closed. Now, once I've crimped with that crimping plier, I'm going to come in like I did when Janice and I did the closure on her cuff bracelet. I'm putting a crimp cover on, so I left just a little bit of space. I just want one. There we go. Just a little bit of space between the crimp, and you can see that there. Just a little bit of space between the crimp and the wire guard. And that slack is going to be taken up by my crimp cover as it closes. If I don't have enough room there, it's going to be too tight. Let's see what we've got here. Look at that. I think it's I think it's pretty good.
Katie, that's so pretty.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah,
I kind of like it. And it does have, everybody's remarking, it has a little bit of a Valentine's Day feel.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think of that, but it does.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, and you can see, you guys, kind of how the different pieces lay, and you can see how nicely it lays in the back like that. And I think that these little shell, I think the back makes it pretty interesting. I think this has a pretty good look to it. So
I would like to see this on memory wire, because I think all these beads and pieces would look really great on memory wire.
As memory wire, I think it would. I think the memory wire would look nice on this.
Yeah.
So you guys, let me show you my last. I have it all in a pile right here. Let me bring this pile forward. I'm going to put this necklace on.
Do it.
And so you guys can see it when I'm done a little later, but I'm going to get it out of the way. There we go.
Ooh,
Look
that's
okay?
good. Yeah,
Yeah, you guys will see
awesome.
it. Let me take this other
I can
necklace
put mine
off.
on too.
Yeah.
They'll just have to wait.
They'll just have to wait. So I'm going to stop the timer. There we go. I'm going to start it again. We're on track. I'm so proud of us. Look at us, even though everyone's freaked out about the time. So Janice did this cool thing here with the English cuts, and she did this English cut float, all right? And she used the 5mm Chinese knotting cord.
The 0.5.
The 0.5. I always call it 5mm. It's 0.5. 0.5 would be gigantor.
Huge.
So it's that 0.5, and it's a perfect size to fit through the holes of the English cuts.
Yep.
Gives you a large enough knot at the end so the bead
The knot
doesn't
stays on the
pop
outside.
over.
Right.
If you're using a smaller, like if you have, say, the 0.4, I would just double knot it and go through
do a
twice.
surgeon's knot.
Right.
Yeah.
And go through that knot doubled. So what I would do if it's 4, let me get this guy here. I would go through my loop. I'd go through once, and I'd go through twice.
Right.
So I'd make a knot,
chunkier
that has a little more bulk to it there. But, so Janice did this one in pretty regular intervals, it looks like, that she really did hers pretty regularly, which looks really nice. What I started doing here with my big tangle of stuff, I'm going to talk about this leather in a second, I started here at the end, and I'm doing my lengths a little differently. And even with this one's kind of floating on there. I didn't even put a knot up at the top of it. So the way I began, we're using that English cut as a button. Okay?
As a what?
A button.
A button?
A button.
Button?
A button. So the way Janice did it here was she did a little hypo tube on the end. She tied a knot, a little hypo tube, cut off the end. So this just sits like so. Right?
Couldn't get any easier.
Couldn't get any easier. What I did with mine was, and I'll get another piece of it, I grabbed my 10mm, and you can use a needle or not. What I have discovered, though, that not all of the holes in these English cuts are equal. Okay? The ones in these avocado English cuts are a little smaller. And you can even see that there.
I
See
wonder
how
if
that's
the
bigger and
coating.
that's smaller? I don't know if it is, because there's not much coating or anything. I don't know. But you can see, since I've used this wire needle, I just pull it right through, and that also leads my thread through.
Right.
Now, the knot, if I want to tie this together, I could come in and I could silk wrap this here, or I could just make a simple overhand knot and tighten it up, and then do this. So that could be, I could come in with some glue,
I like that.
or I could add a little, I don't know, a little dangle or something off of here, but this gives me, where's that loop that Janice made? This gives me that nice closure there. Now, what I've done, just to kind of continue the stringing portion of this, is that I don't know how much I cut. Maybe this is like 1.5 yards, or I cut a lot because I don't know, maybe I want this to wrap around twice, or I've got all of this mess here.
You're actually in the loop, I think.
There we go. So you can see I'm just going to arbitrarily find a distance that I like,
this one in already?
make my loop, and tighten this down. Our UPS guy was just here, in case you guys heard some shouting. That was our UPS dude. Not the usual UPS dude.
Or the other.
Or the other usual one. So see how I've made that loop there? Now I can just slide this on. And tying a knot with these single strands can be, I don't know, sometimes it can be a little tiresome. But Emily, you were doing this when you were doing your knotted piece. You were knotting with an awl, right?
I always knot with an awl. I do like to use tweezers too, but I find tweezers are a little more helpful with very, very small fibers.
I'm going to give myself a little bit of the edge of this. And this is where your awl would also really come in handy. So see, I've tied my loop there. And I'm going to stick the tip of my awl right in there. And that helps me pull that knot right up to the bead.
Right.
And then as I pull that awl out, I don't tighten the loop. See that, how it's loose there? Then I push the knot up and tighten it down. Okay. So let me show you that one more time. Let me tie it. So this first knot doesn't really matter. You just tie it wherever you like it. I'm going to tie it here. I'm going to move this stuff over. I'm going to tie it here. Though if I needed help with my awl to like move my knot down up here, or
undo it
all the way up here, or undo it, or whatever, I could. I'm just going to tighten that. Then I'm going to get the end of my string. I don't know where my needle went though.
Oh, it's right there.
There it is. I put it by carefully so I wouldn't lose it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and then, I don't know, I could do a grouping. I've grabbed some of those 8mm, so I could do an 8, a 10, and an 8. Slide all of this on. And now again, I'll make that loop, make my loop here, pass my thread through that loop, put the needle aside so I don't lose it, and use that awl, bring it right up against that bead. I'm using the foam bead mat because it gives my awl tip a place to rest into, and then I can just come in, tighten that up. Don't pull, I don't anyway, pull the knot and remove the awl. I remove the awl, then I push the knot into place. And that's it.
Oh,
and
that's good.
This could have a little bit of give to it, you know, I mean, it's fine if your knot isn't exactly right on point. You can forgive the, you know, there's some forgiveness there. But you can see how nice that, that knot's up. Now I wanted to show you the difference between using something like this and using leather cords, because we could also use leather cord.
I think the leather would look really good.
Yeah. And this is where I discovered, now this is the 1mm. And can you see, Em, how I've angle cut here on this? And all I did to angle cut was I came in and just angle cut it with my
Flush cutters.
my wire cutters, my flush cutters. But I noticed when I got my 2 beads out that angle cut goes through this amethyst one beautifully. The avocado one,
not so much.
Not so beautifully. Okay, so there is a little bit of variation in the hole size of these. Now, in the 8s, notice how that 8 goes right on there.
Isn't that interesting?
Right? So I think it probably just depends on the bead. But this 0.5 millimeter leather that we have here goes on not only on this amethyst one, but goes on nicely on this avocado one as well. So it just really depends on what works for you. So I will use this white. I think this metallic pearl leather is kind of cool. And we could do this, again, knotting or silk wrapping or whatever we wanted to do. And if that's the loop right there. Okay. And then I'll just come in. Now I can make my knot. And I can come in with my single knot. But with leather, I like to make that double knot.
Because it makes it a little chunkier.
It makes it chunkier, but it also makes... And I'm going to do it with just a single so you can see this. It makes the cord look like it's traveling through, like straight through the tunnel.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just do one, see how that knot has like an elbow bend? Right? So I think this looks a little bit nicer. So now I can just come in and tie these guys on. Tie one on, Emily Miller. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks. Thanks so much. Then we'll just, and again, you could use that all, but I just use my hands and walk this down. If there is a little bit of space, that's okay. But you know what I'm saying right now to this knot. I'm the boss of you.
Who's the boss?
Me. I'm the boss of this knot.
Good.
And see, we still have a little bit of space there. That's all right. And then tie your next one wherever you wanted it.
So one of the things I think it's kind of important about doing these floating or illusion style necklaces is that the cord we're using is substantial enough to stand up to it, but it also sort of shows. Because that's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Thread color combination on the outside of the beads.
Right.
In between, rather than it being hidden.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like it's a definite design element or design choice. Oops, I collapsed that knot over. Okay.
Have we been hitting the NyQuil?
No. I haven't, actually. I will after the broadcast.
We've both got our husky lounge singer voices on today.
I've got my Catherine Turner voice.
Yeah.
It's the most I've talked since Tuson, I think. That can't be true. Come on now. There we go. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. There we go. There's that knot. And we just slide this on. So you could make, you know, multiple strand of this and mix the Ceylon and the CKC, not the Ceylon, but you could mix regular Ceylon, Chinese knotting cord, and this leather. It could be an Odyssey type necklace, you know, or Odyssey design. I think would look great.
Doesn't that look nice?
Especially if we were using, yeah, and look at it's kind of cool. Multiple fibers in there. I guess I'd call them a fiber, even though it's leather. And we just go and we knot along. Now at the end, the ending loop, I've got a few minutes to show you that end loop. Let me get it in there. The end loop we could really easily do a silk wrap with, which I like a lot. I'm a big fan of silk wrapping over leather. Or you could just simply tie a knot. I'm going to tie this one more time, and then we'll do a closing loop. I really love knotting, and you can go back into our Facebook Lives. We've devoted several episodes.
I love knotting. It is
one of those
favorite things.
Yeah, so you can see that's looking pretty nice. So now to close, if we were going to finish on the end, I've got this one here. Let's just pretend that I've finished everything off. I've got my beads all here. I could just make my loop whatever size I needed it to be to go over this bead. I don't want it to be too large. Then I just kind of pinch where I want that knot to be. And I would just tie it. See if I can do it with my fingers. Feel really huge right here. I just tie it like that. And before I tighten it, I'd make sure that that loop fits. And then if it does, looks good, I'll go ahead and tighten everything down. Okay, a little drop of glue, cut this away. Okay, and that's how we would close that one. Now with leather, let's again pretend that my necklace is over here, and I'm gonna silk wrap with this. I could silk wrap using my Chinese knotting cord. You can silk wrap with anything. Ceylon, whatever works. And we have a great skill builder on how to silk wrap, but I get a piece, I don't know, this isn't very long, maybe 7 inches or so. And I fold it so I've got 1/3 to 2/3, and I lay that loop right over the leather that I'm going to wrap. And I get the long end and I wrap it nice and tight. The thing about a good silk wrap is this first wrap has to be tight. That's the thing. And then I go from this end down to the loop. And wrap as many times as you like. I would do at least 5 or 6 wraps. But it just depends on how long you want this silk wrap to be. Once you've got it all wrapped up, see this loop right here? I pass the thread that I've been wrapping with through that loop. And I kind of put my thumb on everything to hold it together. Whoops, ooh, that means we're done. And I just pull the other end, and you can see as I come through, that little loop, that big loop, catches this strand and holds everything nice and tight. It's a sweet little knot. I like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can see that closure there. And then sometimes people put a little bit of glue on there. If I feel that my silk wrap is really secure, I actually don't glue it. But it just depends on what you like. And then this loop will be ready to go right over your bead. Bam!
You did it. We did
Done
it.
and done. Nicely done, Emily Miller.
Very nicely done, Kate Richburg.
We did it.
So do I do the pullback?
Yeah, let's do it. I think we're ready to do our
do the
sign
reveal
off.
on you wearing the
Yes.
necklaces?
Look at that. How we doing? That's right. Here we go. How do I? You're
Beautiful.
wearing yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at us.
Mm-hmm.
Looks great.
Of course, the
That's
settings
right.
are all off. So
Yeah.
bear with
The fruits of our
changes in
labor.
settings.
I love it when we make stuff.
I know, like off the cuff.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's better
Yeah.
without
fun.
so much thought.
Yeah.
Or under the gun. Maybe it's under the gun, the
Maybe
pressure
it is.
and the lack of opportunities, or
Yeah.
you know,
Or
we have
lack
to,
of you've got to hone in.
Yeah.
You've got to have some laser focus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
get it on that. No, I think they're really fun.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
really like these.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. So all we did, you guys, was today's broadcast was called Fun with English Cuts, right? And we had so much fun.
Oh.
Right? They're great. And they're a check glass bead, as Emily was saying earlier. They're molded. They're not as finished as, say, a check fire polish would be. The hole sizes may vary just slightly, but they're clean. They're not really thread cutters.
Right.
Yeah, so I think they're really, really great. After the broadcast, we'll go ahead and take some photos of these as well and add them to the blog post and link the blog post that has all of the ingredients that we did here.
We used a bunch today, actually.
We did. I think it's good. We ran the gamut. Well, we have some fun giveaways. What was the question?
And your earrings were Free Chip Friday, you said? Or?
Nope, these were from I think one of my big epic earring broadcasts when I made like 9 pairs. It was a Facebook Live earlier last year, I think. You'll go to the Facebook Live page and scroll back about mid-year last year, and you'll see the big earring broadcast there. It was a lot of fun. It was a good one. Well, we had a lot of fun, as we've been saying this whole broadcast. We had a lot of fun in Tucson.
Oh, Tucson was really good fun.
We saw so many colors of the desert. You don't realize the desert has so many colors.
The sunsets in the desert are really spectacular.
Really spectacular.
And there's always a good one while we're there.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of rocks.
A lot of cacti.
A lot of cacti.
Saguaros.
These kind.
Those kind. Yeah.
Right? The arms in the air. We saw a lot of tents in the desert.
Right. So many. I mean, we're driving out to one of the shows that was way out of town, and all of a sudden you see it's kind of this like tent oasis of all this stuff. It was really fun.
Imagine like the flea market that's in your town, or the one that you like to go to that's nearby, times 40. Because pretty much you drive by Carl's Jr. and there's a tent in the parking lot.
There's some guy selling geodes out of his trunk. Yeah. And we're not kidding.
We're not kidding. So the air down there is different. It's drier. It's different scents. It's much dustier too.
Yeah.
We definitely were fighting off the dust this time.
It was crazy. But it was super inspirational. I know that we always come back. You and I have been going to Tucson separately and together over the past, I don't know, like 18 years. And so we see a lot of the same people and a lot of the same scenes, but we also managed to kind of hone in on new stuff as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we do. And it's sometimes it takes a little bit of mulling over after we see it. We see it, we acknowledge it, but we don't maybe take it all in completely.
Take it all in,
Yeah, we have to think about it some more.
And so one of the things when we were talking about the giveaway and stuff today, what we were going to do, I thought, well, why don't we make a little mix that kind of commemorates our Tucson time. So I put together a mix yesterday, and I'm just going to dump it out because it's kind of fun.
Very pretty.
Isn't it pretty?
Yeah.
And it's all, since today we were playing fun with English cuts, since English cuts are a Czech bead, I thought we would do a fun mix of Czech beads. They include a 4mm melon, which we don't have on the website. We may eventually someday, but for now we don't, which I love. And I added some 6mm, that fire polish that we were talking about earlier. So you can see kind of the contrast between what a fire polish looks like and what a English cut looks like. And so I used 6mm of those in this turquoise color, both in opaque and transparent. And I grabbed also some 4mm white beads, some in the opal, and some in this. Oh, I should have written. What is that?
We need something to check like some kind of glitter silver color.
It's that, and we need to. We need to look that one up. It was so good, and I thought I had it here, but I wanna show you. Can you look that one up?
I will.
While
you go ahead.
Going over this one.
Yeah.
And the reason that I chose these two in the white were that the clouds in the desert are so vivid against the bright blue sky of the desert. So that's what these say to me. The red kind of bring in those red rocks of the desert. And, you know, Arizona is known for Arizona and Nevada, the Southwest. They're all known for their copper mines as well. So I threw in stuff in copper. Some copper 4mm, and of course, my favorite bead, the little shadow. And so that little shadow is in there too, to bring some copper.
I think this is the one.
And then I thought, that's the one.
Is it Nebula Chalk?
Yeah, Nebula Chalk, that's what it is, Nebula Chalk. Okay. And then of course I did this 2-hole in this Picasso coating, which I loved a lot. So it's really a good reminiscent.
Oh yeah.
Do a
pattern.
Turn the camera.
Yeah, and this is a mix that we don't carry on the site, but I thought it would be fun for the giveaway today.
And it's limited.
It's limited.
Yep.
So it's just for today. And we'll list the ingredients in the episode notes, so if you want to recreate it on your own, you can. This looks like a little gold, a panning for
It does,
gold, doesn't
actually.
it? Kind of little thing going on. So for the giveaway today, if you order today before 1 p.m., and today is 2/7/2018, it's Wednesday, the 7th of February, and you write "Mix Me" in your order notes. When you place your order, we will toss in your Czech glass bead mix. And also, since it's Czech glass bead day, we have a coupon Czech 20 that's good for 20% off till midnight on all of our Czech glass, not just our English cuts, but everything in the shop that's a Czech glass bead. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
We have such a good range, but this is your chance to play around with the things that we've been working on lately. Melons, rondelles.
The rondelles. We didn't even, Janice used the rondelles
I know.
in this guy.
I know.
We didn't even scratch the rondelle surface.
Really didn't. Rondelles, English cuts. The English cuts are really charming, and they do have that quality that the regular fire polish doesn't have.
And we're really excited to add more and more Czech beads. The Czech beads are made, they've been made the same way for decades and decades. It's not like these are made in a big giant factory. The big giant factory where these are made are small little, like, home workshops or workshops on a smaller scale. So,
Yeah, it's it's where the cottage industry kind of came from.
That same tradition of making those beads. So, so that's the story. That's the story. We're sticking to it. So, Emily, next week for Facebook Live,
What's happening next week?
we have a special.
It's
I'm
Valentine's
making,
Day.
Yeah, I'm making something special for Valentine's Day. Pardon me. It has to do with wire. It has to do with freeform wrapping.
Uh-oh.
And it has to do with a bunch of little beads.
That sounds like fun.
It is. It's going to be super fun.
Yep.
And Cara's dancing over. Cara, toss me that kit.
Oh, yeah.
We also wanted to remind you, we do have some of
Now's the
our
time.
really great heart on your sleeve kits in the blue and in the red. And you guys have really been blowing up with these over on our Facebook group.
I love seeing them on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
All of the variations have been really
so
charming.
fantastic. So
really good.
we do still have some kits left, but they are going. So we did want to mention, if you guys do want them, toss them in your cart, because you'll get them before Valentine's Day and you can start stitching on them. But they're really good. I should have been wearing mine today.
I forgot mine. It's on my other sweater that I wore to Tuson.
Yeah. Oh. You had your heart on your sleeve for
I had it
Tuson.
on my sweater.
Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you so very much for joining us here for Facebook Live for beadshop.com. I'll be back with Free Tip Friday on Friday. It took a 2-week hiatus.
Oh my God,
but
really?
I'll be back. Yeah.
2 weeks?
2 weeks. We didn't do Free Tip Friday.
Wow,
but I'll be back this
must
Friday.
be unrestless.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. This Friday, I'm going to be working with our new monthly mix called New Love, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think it is. It's kind of
called. It's so cool. It's a new gen mix, which is so beautiful. So if you guys haven't checked it out, it is called, it's called New Love. I was right. It's a beautiful mix, pinky and gorgeous. So I have a little project cooked up for that on Fridays. So that's our story. We're sticking to it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We'll see you next week.
Fun with English cuts.
It was fun with English cuts.
All right.
We should have fun with English cuts more often.
We should, more often. All right, you guys. I'm going to go drink some tea. Have a great week, and I'll see you Friday for Free Tip Friday.
See you guys next week.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.